Hello, everybody, and welcome to Atheist Sunday School, your one-stop shop for everything Atheist Sunday and school. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today we are covering Zechariah chapters 1 through 4. And it's exciting. This is the penultimate book of the Old Testament.
Yeah, what's at the very end again?
What's at the very end? It's Malachi.
Malachi, that's right. Malachi.
Yeah. You ever see Children of the Corn?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
At the end when he's like, he wants you too, Malachi.
I barely remember that movie.
Great movie.
So yeah, not Malachi today.
No, Zechariah.
Yeah, Zechariah.
Not Zephaniah, but Zechariah.
Yeah.
Two chapters separating the two in Haggai.
And with, sorry, Chris. I don't try to do that. That click that I'm doing, it's an accident whenever I do that.
Now we have it on recording though, so I can always point out when that was annoying. I swear I'll adapt to it. I'll get over it, but dang, has it popped my ear every time thus far?
Yeah, apparently Chris is very much annoyed when I do that. And
I don't know. It's some sensitive.
I guess. So Zechariah is basically, it's a continuation. At least the first few chapters are a continuation of Haggai.
Wow.
So it's kind of like in the same vein here. In fact, it starts off with the same kind of dating nomenclature that Haggai did. It even starts off with like in the 7th month, in the 2nd year of Darius, and so on, right? So let's first mention up some of the books that we're reading today.
Yes, I have the King James Version of the Bible.
I have the English Standard Version of the Bible.
We also have the NIV Old Testament Survey.
Yeah, there it is.
Which was not opened.
No, I didn't really need to use it.
Well, now you do.
I guess we can if we need it. Because, now we have like a more detailed commentary on this one. We have Erdman's commentary on the Bible. We have the Hebrew Bible, a translation with commentary by Robert Alter. We have the Hebrew Scriptures according to some Jews.
The Holy Scriptures.
Sorry. The Holy Scriptures according to some Jews.
And the new King James Version of the Bible, as well as the Septuagint.
We do have a Septuagint.
Did you read off the ESV?
I did.
Yeah? And did you introduce our new commentary?
No, so this is a commentary from Carol L. Myers and Eric M. Myers. And it is on Haggai and Zechariah 1 through 8. And the reason it's 1 through 8 is because that's kind of where that's the logical division. And they kind of go together, which is why they're put together in one commentary. But at that point, why not just add the rest of Zechariah? But okay, whatever. Maybe that's just me mauling a little bit about it. So
yeah, let's
talk about the structure of the composite work, why they are viewed together.
Well, there's first Zechariah, which is 1 through 8.
Yeah.
And then there's second Zechariah. So we'll have different introductions for each of them, as there will be different commentaries for each of them. Yours,
that is
the
true.
Other one. Too,
that is true,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this first one, like you said, it's a continuation of Haggai.
Mm-hmm.
It's a series of 8 visions framed by a pair of sermons. There's just a 6-verse sermon at the beginning. Right.
Yeah, it's not too much there at the very beginning.
Yeah.
So so they should be viewed together, the Haggai and first Zechariah. So both prophets deal with the reorganization of national life and institutions in the Restoration period. The dated prophecies of both Haggai and Zechariah 1 through 8 take place within a very close time frame. So we have August of 520 to December of 518 BCE. So really, really close together there. The cast of characters in the two works is virtually the same. You have the high priest Joshua, the governor Zerubbabel, priests, the citizenry or representatives thereof. While they diverge to a certain extent in the specifics of their words, the two prophets complement each other, as one might indeed expect of as you might indeed expect from two men of God who are responding to virtually the same questions and the same quandaries. Aside from these obvious congruencies of content and context, various features of their literary structure indicate that Haggai and Zechariah 1 through 8 can be viewed as a combined work.
I want to point out something here. Chapter 3 departs significantly from a pattern that is set up to focus on Joshua. This commentator, Ben C. Ohlenberger, notes that it was probably added secondarily, increasing the number of visions to 8 and giving them a certain arrangement, which we'll get into when we actually read the text. But he says the addition of chapter 3 is not the only way in which editorial activity has affected the character of the visions. Intruding into what is now the 5th vision is an oracle addressed to Zerubbabel, described in Haggai as the governor of Judah. The oracle in Zechariah 4 identifies Zerubbabel as the temple builder, a role assigned in Zechariah 6, 9 through 15 to an anonymous but expected branch, a royal figure from David's line, also expected in 3:8. Editorial activity here reflects uncertainty and perhaps disagreement about the role of Zerubbabel, to whom Haggai attaches extraordinary expectations. Further, there's some evidence that the first 3 visions in chapters 1 and 2 were once an independent collection.
That would fit. So for dating a text like this, when it's part of a composite work, Carol and Eric Myers, or the Myers,
the Myers family.
Yeah, they maintain that because it doesn't directly mention the actual restoration of the temple, like in history, like on that day we did this thing. Mm-hmm. We restored the temple, right? So because of that, they give like a possible end date to when the composite would have been written before. Mm-hmm. So let's see here. The chronological headings provide a span of less than 2.5 years from the material in Haggai and Zechariah 1 through 8, and indicate that the 2 works could not have been put together as they stand any earlier than the last date given, December 7th, 518. In other words, the latest date in Zechariah 1 through 8 serves as a terminus postquem for the compilation of the whole work. Mm. So the date of completion or publication of the composite work is more difficult to ascertain. However, 2 considerations lead us to believe that the process of completing the work took place within a very short time after the last given date. The first consideration comes in response to the question of what might have led to the act of compilation. If the temple work and refoundation ceremony were the events that elicited the prophets of Haggai and Zechariah 1 through 8, then it seems likely that the temple rededication itself in 516 or 515 BCE would have had an equally great impact upon the prophets of the restoration. But, there apparently it's not mentioned at the very end.
Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about the date and setting within the book, according to Ben Ohlenberger. So each of the superscriptions in First Zechariah, like those in Haggai, dates the material to the reign of Darius, king of Persia, either to his 2nd year in 1:1 or to his 4th in 7:1. These correspond to 520 and early 519 and to 518 BCE. Darius was 3rd in the succession of Persian emperors, the first of whom, Cyrus, led Persia in displacing Babylon as the imperial power controlling the Mediterranean region. Cyrus made it Persian policy after 539 BCE to repatriate populations that had been exiled to Babylon, a policy celebrated in Ezra 1 through 4. The policy continued under Cambyses and then Darius, who assumed the throne in 522 BCE. He secured his reign against militant opposition in 520, the year assigned to Zechariah's first sermon and his visions. The Persian policy toward exiles, especially under Darius, was motivated by more than benevolence. It was designed to foster loyalty in the provinces and to provide efficient means of imperial control, including the collection of revenues. To this end, Darius supported or mandated the reconstruction of provincial institutions, religious, social, and economic, under authorized local leadership. Central among these institutions, in Judah's case as elsewhere, was the temple. By Persian design, it was the administrative, cultic, and financial center of an essentially agrarian economy. Under Persian organization, Judah, or its Aramaic form, Yehud, was part of the satrapy beyond the river, administered from Babylon.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Yeah. Whether it had provincial status with its own governor is a matter of dispute, but it does seem probable. According to Ezra, Zerubbabel and Joshua led a group of the Gola, Jewish exiles, from Babylon to Judah, and 2 years later initiated the rebuilding of the temple. This is in Ezra 2 and 3. Haggai assumes that Zerubbabel and Joshua were Judah's leaders as governor and high priest. In that case, and also by Persian design, it was members of the Gola, repatriated from Babylon, who assumed civic and cultic authority in Judah, most of whose population had not been exiled. But in the Persian period, following the Babylonian conquest earlier in the 6th century BCE, Judah was only a fraction of its former self. In area, it comprised approximately 900 square miles, about the size of the greater Chicago metropolitan area, with a population only a third as large as it was earlier. Jerusalem's population, perhaps 6,000 or 7,000 before its destruction in 586 BCE, numbered only a few hundred in 520. Zechariah's expectation that Judah's towns would overflow with goods in chapter 1, and that Jerusalem's population would exceed the capacity of any walls in chapter 2 and chapter 8, takes on a new light in view of this data. He expects that Yahweh will reverse the present conditions and the past ones.
Yeah, and that kind of reminds me of the stuff about remember in I think it was in Second Kings, right, when they were saying that like the leaders will come in and they will be prosperous.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think I mentioned that in my Horseman video.
Yeah.
I think so. Which would make sense, I guess, in this context, because we do have a Horseman vision today. And I do go more in depth about the relationship of these horsemen to the ones in Revelation. So if you do want to learn more about that, I do have a video on it.
We can comment on it a little bit here.
Yeah. Now, I did want to mention briefly the actual text of Zechariah 1 through 8. So the Hebrew text of First Zechariah is also in a remarkably fine state of preservation. In 2 instances, the medieval care tradition has proved superior to the Masoretic text and is supported by the Septuagint in the first instance, 116, and several versions in the second instance, 4.2. 4.2. And now they do talk about a couple of the readings that they have to shift. So at 2.12, there's what they're restoring what they believe to be a Hebrew original with my eye. In 4.9, we have corrected a singular verb to a plural with considerable versional and manuscript support.
Oh, so they have their own translation in there too.
Yeah. Although I was kind of going over this, I was checking it against Alter, and it seems like they mostly agree. So, I mean, yeah, when they go over these manuscripts, they are translating them. And it takes a long time to translate. But the text itself is well preserved. So the most obvious change in the text occurs at 6:14, which we'll get to next week, where we have read singular crown with the Septuagint and Peshitta. This problematic reading is supported also by the Hebrew syntax and by an old Phoenician singular, which permits retention of the consonantal text. And they have an extensive discussion on it for that one. But the text itself is generally well preserved, which is good. That's a good thing that we have that. So there's not much more to talk about. Now, of course, the time this would be happening is you could have right before the restoration of the temple, so kind of the same period as Ezra
Haggai
and Nehemiah. But the exact same time as Haggai, essentially.
Yeah.
But it's in that same context. So for Zechariah himself, on the basis of Nehemiah 12:4 and 16, where Zechariah is mentioned as the head of the ancestral house of Iddu, a priest or Levite who returned from Babylon to Jerusalem with Zerubbabel, it is normally assumed that Zechariah was a priest who was born in Babylon. A good portion of the material in Zechariah 1 through 8 is in the first person. For example, in the night I saw a man riding. But it was likely that the present form of chapters 1 through 8, with its chronology, which is begun in Haggai, is the work of an editor whose date cannot be determined. So I think I guess Rogerson here in Erdman's has his disagreements with the Meyer family.
Yeah, and it looks like the Myers have quite extensive notes, as well as like pictures. There's like images here of seal impressions and just a lot of seals, signatures, picture of Darius.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on in here, and a lot of stuff to get through. So, is it time for us to begin?
Read
I
this
think
text?
it is.
All right,
You
Then
can do that.
let's hop into it. Hey guys, if you're enjoying the stream and you want to share the good news that we're almost done with the Old Testament,
That is good news.
yeah, share the video with your friends, family, neighbors, Babylonians.
Good news, everyone.
Good news, everyone. Yeah. Chapter 1. In the 8th month, in the 2nd year of Darius, came the word of the Lord unto Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, the son of Iddo, the prophet.
I'm sorry. We gotta talk about this. So Alter has it in the 7th month, in the 2nd year of Darius, instead of in the 8th month of the 2nd year of Darius.
That's very different.
So he doesn't actually have a note on that one, but luckily the Myers do. They say, oh my God. Okay. So Zechariah's prophetic activity begins in the month of Heshvan, which could either be in November or December, since the day of the month is not supplied. All the other chronological headings in Haggai and Zechariah contain both month and day, although not always the year. And the Peshitta supplies the day, the first day, evidently taking Hodesh month to mean the new moon or the first day of the month. This chronological heading is the first of 3 such headings. Really? So they don't actually tell you why they have that as the 8th month and why Alter would have it as the 7th.
So I'm assuming it's because they have different manuscripts that they're working with.
That is,
What does the Septuagint say?
I could check the Septuagint, which, I guess Myers did mention that it was fairly well preserved in the Septuagint.
Yeah.
Right? So I guess we could check that. And you know what? I'm glad that this time I left.
And it could be that this is a King Jamesism, right? Here it says
that's true.
8th month in the 2nd year.
That's true.
But we've had differences in dates also in other books that only appeared in the King James.
Yeah, that is true. All right, so you can continue reading. I'll find this.
Saying, the Lord hath been sore displeased with your fathers. Therefore say thou unto them, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Turn ye unto me, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will turn unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. Wow.
It says 8th in the Septuagint.
Oh, so that's consistent with the KJV.
I suppose. I guess Alter is going off of the Masoretic text, right?
Yeah.
Which, yeah. So it's interesting. All right.
Yeah. So here God's being redundant.
Isn't he always?
I mean, holy shit. Listen to this verse, Lawrence, that I just read. Therefore say thou unto them, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Turn ye unto me, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will turn unto you, saith the Lord of hosts.
Yeah.
Who says this? What to say to who? I hate these saith things.
Oh, and it looks like this is something that will continue. Be ye not as your fathers, unto whom the former prophets have cried, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts.
Oh my God.
Turn ye now from your evil ways and from your evil doings. But they did not hear nor hearken unto me, saith the Lord.
Yeah, it would make sense in this context where they, now they're anticipating this this temple being rebuilt, right? And the I assume here that Cyrus, Cyrus is already, he already did his thing. This is we're now in the period of Darius.
Yeah.
So everything is looking up for them, and they are they're like, forefathers sucked. Look what they did. This is obviously it's their fault for getting invaded.
Well, it doesn't even matter like the actual consequences of their actions, because we're dealing with that ancient Israelite ethic, which says that like if something bad happens to you, it's because you did something wrong.
Yeah.
Right? So obviously, because they were exiled, God must have been pissed at their forefathers.
Yeah.
Your fathers, where are they? And the prophets, do they live forever? Well,
no.
Enoch and Elijah.
Yeah, that is true.
They might be the only real prophets.
Those are the ones that are living forever, of course.
Yeah. Though Enoch wasn't really a prophet.
Well,
He
was
he
prophetic.
later
in apocryphal texts he becomes more of a prophet.
Yeah, an apocryphal text. In the Bible, we don't really get that much.
No.
Although we do get reference to him later in like the New Testament, where it does just reference that part in Genesis.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's not like it's like really spicy or anything, but it's there. People still noticed.
Yeah. But my words and my statutes, which I commanded my servants the prophets, did they not take hold of your fathers? And they returned and said, like as the Lord of hosts thought to do unto us according to our ways and according to our doings, so hath he dealt with us.
Apparently that's often, or it's very often rendered as they repented instead of they returned.
Yeah, so that was the end of the introduction. Now we go into another prophecy. I want to look in Eerdmans here and see if they say anything noteworthy. Yeah, it's just stuff that we already noted.
Went over, yeah.
Okay, so now we're getting into actual visions.
Great.
Right, with verse 7. Upon the 24th day, the 24th, of the 11th month, which is the month Sabat, in the 2nd year of Darius, came the word of the Lord unto Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, the son of Iddo, the prophet, saying...
Yeah, and apparently the Hebrew text is the same for this.
Do any of yours have reference to Iddo?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, tell me about Iddo.
Okay, well, I'm going to try to find something on Iddo. How about that?
Yeah. Because we get this reference to him being a prophet twice, and obviously this is important to Zechariah's lineage because it gets mentioned multiple times.
That is true. All right, so the prophet Zechariah ben Berechiah ben Iddo. So Zechariah, meaning Yahweh has remembered, is a rather common biblical name. It appears here in its shortened form, and he's just going over the name here. But I am trying to find more about Iddo. While the Iddo or wait, what?
Berechiah.
Yeah, Berechiah. Okay, so Iddo himself, it's a lineage there then.
Mm-hmm.
The name of Zechariah's father may serve a useful purpose in identifying the bearer of a common name, but it is not clear why Zechariah's lineage for 2 generations back is included. Possibly there was another Zechariah with the same immediate patronymic, since Berechiah was also a very common name, in which case the addition of Zechariah's grandfather's name would serve to resolve any confusion about which Zechariah ben Berechiah was the prophet.
See, I think it would be more to add clout, right?
That could work too, yeah.
He specifies that Iddo is a prophet multiple times.
It could be to add clout, or they're just referencing Zechariah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if it's the same way that it is for Hebrew, as it is for Greek, but at least in Greek, it's sentence structure isn't exactly like a thing that much. There's very little sentence structure rules. There's a lot of grammar rules, not as many sentence structure rules specifically. So when it comes to like describing someone, you can usually put it in like a certain case to link it to what it's referencing. And sometimes it's just guesswork, honestly. Like sometimes like if things share a case, and you don't really know where like an adjective say goes, you just kind of take a shot. Maybe one would make more sense than the other, and they just go with that one.
Yeah.
Because that's just how Greek is. I don't know if Hebrew also worked that way. It might have. So either way, so a more likely solution, however, lies in the fact that in Ezra 5:1 and 6:14 and Nehemiah 12:16, Zechariah is listed as Iddo's son, not his grandson, Zechariah bar Iddo. Iddo himself is listed in Nehemiah 12:4 as part of a priestly family that returned from exile with Zerubbabel, presumably in 538 BCE. Perhaps Iddo was so important a figure in his own right that he was naturally retained in the citation of Zechariah's lineage, which would be a way to maintain clout, obviously. Or it was both, or maybe because, let's say you had two traditions, one from Berechiah, right, and the other from Iddo, and if the author here was like, I'm not really sure which one it is, so I'm going to say it's both. I highly doubt that's it, but I think that would be really funny. It wouldn't be the first time something like that's happened, by the way.
Right.
It's a rather common compromise then.
Yeah, sometimes like if a scribe doesn't know which reading is the right one, they'll just include both. That's happened before. We have textual evidence for that. So yeah, Iddo, possibly a very important person there. That they had to link to Zechariah.
All right. I saw by night, and behold, a man riding upon a red horse, and he stood among the myrtle trees that were in the bottom, and behind him were those red horses, speckled and white.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great stuff. So now we see the first horseman.
Yes, tell me about this horse.
So it's interesting here that Alter has it translated as a bay horse.
So this would not be necessarily like bright red.
Yeah, so I saw it at night, and look, there was a man riding on a bay horse, and he was standing among the myrtles that are by the deep, and behind him were bay, sorrel, and white horses. So while this is the realistic color for a horse, the Hebrew Adom could also mean more surrealistically red. This would be the color of blood, perhaps a prelude to God's fury. I don't know. See, here's the thing. Yes, Matthew, of course, it's sounding a lot like Revelation, because you have 4 horses here, right? You have 4 horses, and they have a bunch of different colors. But not all the colors are the same ones as in Revelation.
Right. We have like speckled horses and white horses and red horses and this red horse that's ridden by this horseman.
Yeah. And I do go over the significance of the colors in both periods in my Heavenly Horseman video.
Now, Eerdmans comments that the horsemen are perhaps modeled on Persian patrols.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue. Then said I, O my Lord, what are these? And the angel that talked with me said unto me, I will show thee what these be. And the man...
really say it like that? I will show you what these be.
I will show thee what these be.
That's funny. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so this angel just kind of showed up.
Yep.
And the man that stood among the myrtle trees answered and said, These are they whom the Lord hath sent to walk to and fro through the earth. And they answered the angel of the Lord that stood among the myrtle trees, and said, We have walked to and fro through the earth, and behold,
Behold!
all the earth sitteth still, and is at rest.
So one thing about the colors here. So for this verse, there's a scholar, McCarty. He proposes that the second use of red be replaced by amusim, which the Septuagint translates, and which is actually a mistaken expansion of the abbreviation M, I guess, which would stand for amana, or yellow, since amos is also a color word designating a shade of red. The same abbreviation could have signified red, thereby creating even greater textual confusion. The sorrel should be replaced by black on the grounds that a scribe read. I don't know what the actual Hebrew letter is supposed to be, but it's a transliteration of the Hebrew letter. So I'm not entirely sure. But it's some kind of S. Maybe it's a sh. I don't know. Whatever makes that sound. As an abbreviation for black. Shehorim, I guess. White presents no problem. So yeah, it has been proposed that these colors are, because they were, I guess, abbreviated, that translators got those colors wrong. So that was the proposition there by McCarty. So as ingenious as McCarty's proposal is, the fact remains that only 3 colors are listed in the Masoretic text, and that they are not primary. They're not all primary colors. In our translation, we have adhered to the Hebrew text despite the harmonizations suggested by various modern commentators and ancient versions. The directional problem, likewise, may be. Oh, we'll talk about the directions. Now, of course, I think the directions are just listing, like all around the world, around the earth. Although one of the directions isn't listed, right? So we'll continue. Yeah. And that one always, I don't know. I didn't know what to do with that one.
Then the angel of the Lord answered and said, O Lord of hosts, how long wilt thou not have mercy on Jerusalem and on the cities of Judah, against which thou hast had indignation these 70 years? And the Lord answered the angel that talked with me with good words and comfortable words. So the angel that communed with me said unto me, Cry thou, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with a great jealousy. And I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease. For I was but a little displeased, and they helped it forward, and they helped forward the affliction. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies. My house shall be built in it, saith the Lord of hosts, and a line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. Cry yet, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, My cities through prosperity shall yet be spread abroad, and the Lord shall yet comfort Zion, and shall yet choose Jerusalem. Now, I want to note here that this is where the Hebrew text ends this chapter. So these next 4 verses, the last verses in this chapter, are verses 1 through 4 in Hebrew.
Okay.
Of chapter 2.
Great. Fantastic.
Yeah. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold! 4 horns. And I said to the angel that talked with me, What be these? And he answered me, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. And the Lord showed me 4 carpenters. Then said I, What come these to do? And he spake, saying, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head. But these are coming to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah, to scatter it.
Yeah, so about these horns. So the symbolism of horns as representative of divine might, derived from the power suggested by horned animals, has a long history in biblical literature and in Near Eastern mythology and iconography. We've talked about that a ton on the show. Right.
The prophet sees 4 horns. This is from Eerdmans. Presumably made of iron. The horn is a symbol of pride and aggression familiar in the Old Testament, deriving from its use in fighting by bulls and other horned animals. Whether the number 4 is to be connected with the 4 winds of heaven in chapter 6, verse 5, or whether they are to be identified with successive empires, Assyria, Babylonia, and Persia, is disputed. When 119 is repeated in verse 21, Israel and Jerusalem are not mentioned and may well be later additions to verse 19. The blacksmiths, of which there are again 4, carpenters in the KJV, may partly represent Persia as the nation that defeated Judah's oppressor, Babylon, but precise clarity is not to be expected in visions. The visions could both refer to the present deliverance that Judah enjoys thanks to the Persians and look to a future, more extensive deliverance.
Yeah, so it definitely seems like, we're not entirely sure what this what exactly it's supposed to refer to, either directions or the possible kingdoms, because we've had all sorts of symbolism like that, right? Mm-hmm. But either way, they are meant to be mighty. So while a 4-horned headpiece may not lie directly behind the prophet's vision, another sort of physical symbol is involved. The fate of the horns, according to verse 4, informs us that some fabricated object did exist and was then rendered useless. Several biblical references to horn in the singular refer to an object which could be raised on high as a symbol of might. Perhaps horn designates some sort of royal battle standard, as in the case of the implements commissioned by the king Zedekiah in 1 Kings 22:11. Alternatively, however, the references may be to the horned cap of might, with horn in the singular denoting the whole horned headpiece. There's not just the ones that you mentioned, but some others. The translation of horns by the Targum as kingdoms has no doubt inspired much of the later exegesis, including that of the patristic commentators who identified the 4 horns with the historic enemies of Israel. So you have the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Medes, and the Persians too. Although that would be a little weird for the Persians because, especially in this context, they would be helping you out a lot, right?
Yeah.
But then you also have the Egyptians as well as a possibility, the Greeks. So yeah, there are a few options there, and there's not really no definitive answers, which is kind of a bummer, but I guess whatever. So that was for you. That was the end of chapter 1, right?
Yeah, and the Hebrew text ends chapter 1 4 verses earlier.
Yeah. So it's a little weird. Maybe we can hopefully it's not too confusing, I guess. Because while so it looks like I guess we're fine because it looks like in the ESV chapter 2 does it goes on, verses 18 through 21 do end chapter 1. So I think it's in agreement with what you have. Yeah. So we'll go with that.
What I'm going to do here is I'm going to interject with commentary from Alter and Eerdmans. But if you want me to go into more depth on something, then I'll locate it in here.
Yeah, so this portion of the text is where we're talking about the measuring line. Mm-hmm. And this has been interpreted in a few ways. And first I'll read this section and then we can talk about it. Mm-hmm. And I lifted my eye. This is chapter 2.
Yeah.
And I lifted my eyes and saw, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand.
So 2 words, chebe midah, are used together to indicate a measuring device. But the first word alone actually provides the important nuance for understanding the phrase, and consequently the imagery. In contrast with the use of builder's line in 1:16, this cord or string, chebel, is used for measurement. Indeed, cord is often found in the Bible as a measuring device, even without midah of measurement. The word is also found more than several times in association with the word nachala, inheritance. Although it's very difficult to judge the ascendancy of such an expression between the early days of the poetry of Deuteronomy to its later usage in Zechariah or the Chronicler, a case can be made for the measuring cord in Zechariah to have a range of meaning which includes that provided by the expression cord of inheritance, the territorial dimension of God's appointment to Israel with Jerusalem at its center. A double entendre may be intended here. The man with the measuring cord, while absorbed in the territorial demands of measurement, at the same time carries a device symbolizing Judah's inheritance of God's historic appointment to Israel. In this case, the third vision would anticipate not only the oracle of 2:10 through 11, or in the RSV 2:6 through 7, which appears to directly be associated with it, but also the statement in 2:16, or in the RSV 2:12, in which Yahweh allots to Judah his special portion or inheritance and selects Jerusalem as its sacred center.
Yeah, with this measuring thing, it's sometimes been seen as measuring like an actual temple, or measuring like the dimensions for the temple, like, before you build something, you got to measure out stuff for it. Or it could be measuring of the people themselves, because let's look at the context. And also, I don't, Klaus, I do not know the Hebrew word for behold. I know the Greek word for behold. It's idu. Idu.
Oh, you mean
not that guy?
Zechariah's
No, not that guy. It's idu.
Imagine having a grandpa named Behold.
I think at this point I'd welcome it.
Okay.
Yeah, wouldn't
I
you?
believe you.
I'd be pretty happy. Like, I'd be like, behold!
Behold!
My wonderful grandfather.
All right, get into the third vision here.
Sure. So the measuring line in his hand. Then I said, "Where are you going?" And he said to me, "To measure Jerusalem, to see what its width and what is its length." And behold, the angel who talked with me came forward, and another angel came forward to meet him, and said to him, "Run, say to that young man, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as villages without walls, because of the multitude of people and livestock in it."
So multiple things.
This is why it's this is why it's sometimes seen as measuring of the people. Like you're measuring how big Jerusalem is, but I guess it doesn't really matter because it's gonna be overflowing.
So multiple things that I want to point out here. First of all, the width and length. These specific components of area measure are not to be construed as having a direct connection with the temple rebuilding project, for the process of restoring the temple was already underway. However, the relationship of the temple to the political or monarchic dimensions to which the pre-exilic temple had been an element was not so clear. The boundaries of Jerusalem in this vision can be related to the royal estate of the house of David, which will one day be restored. It is in the divine plan. This understanding of the measuring of Jerusalem is contingent upon the eschatological nature of the angelic explication in verse 8 or verse 4. It is not necessary to see in this measurement process a reference to any actual attempt in Zechariah's day to restore the walls of the city, as suggested by Thomas and Baldwin, among others. The width and length refer to its total area, that is, its size rather than its perimeter, insofar as verse 8 denotes the population that will inhabit the area.
Yeah, because they're talking about the whole city of Jerusalem here.
Yeah. The fact that the width precedes the length in this verse may provide a specific clue as to what is being measured. In Ezekiel, various measurements are given for an ideal future territory and its components, which include a building precinct, a city with its own spaces and tribal allotments. The holy portion of the land is consistently measured with length, the larger figure preceding width. That seems to be the normal sequence. The larger figure comes first and is designated length. However, Ezekiel provides the size of the city territory, which contains one sacred district. The rest of the territory, apart from Yahweh's precinct, is said to be 5,000 cubits wide and 25,000 cubits long, and shall be for ordinary use of the city, for dwelling, and for open country. The width precedes the length. apparently a departure from the normal order. Because this verse specifies width before length, and because there is a reference below to a Jerusalem greater than the city itself, in verse 8, with its villages, this verse therefore would denote the future city along with the adjacent land. The ordering of width before length also shows a relationship to the fifth vision, which in the overall structure of the visions can be paired with this vision. The fifth vision also contains a set of measurements, and in that case the order is opposite. Length precedes width. The appearance of measurements and their chiastic arrangements helps to link the two visions.
You know, that's a really interesting point.
Yeah, I also want to bring up that Eerdmans points out that the priestly language of verse 5, glory, a wall of fire.
Yeah, I'm going to read that one here. And I will be to her a wall of fire all around, declares the Lord, and I will be the glory in her midst.
Yeah, so this suggests that once the temple is built and God's glory resides there, no physical protection will be needed because they said no walls earlier. Yeah. This is a bold conception.
It's going to be a wall of fire.
Even Ezekiel's visionary restored the temple walls.
That is true.
Yeah.
And Ezekiel's, I mean, this is a pretty cool vision so far. These visions are pretty cool.
Yeah.
At least in comparison to the other stuff we've read recently.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm on verse 6 for me. Up. Flee from the land of the north, declares the Lord. For I have spread you abroad as the four winds of the heavens, declares the Lord. Of course, that just meaning everywhere. Up. Escape to Zion, you who dwell with the daughter of Babylon. For thus said the Lord of hosts, after his glory sent me to the nations who plundered you. You know, this seems to be changing in person a lot.
Yeah, so Eerdmans points out
like saying I have spread you abroad, it would sound like God is supposed to be saying that, right?
So there's some details that are obscure. The first obscurity is the phrase spread you abroad in 2:6, for which the Greek has I have gathered you.
Wait, hold on, let's check that one.
Yeah.
You can
also where it says up, these guys translate this as hey. The Hebrew is hoy hoy.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's a characteristic prophetic interjection found in all 3 of the major prophets and in 6 of the 12 minor prophets. Only once in 1 Kings 13:30 does it appear elsewhere. And there it introduces a statement concerning a prophet. You looking that up?
Okay, so for I have spread you abroad as the four winds of the heavens. In the Septuagint, they have for I will gather you from the four winds of heaven, saith the Lord, even to Sion.
Yeah, so they say the Greek has I have gathered you. A possibility is to understand the Hebrew to mean that God has or will spread the people around in abundance. The idea that he has scattered them is not appropriate to the context. And there's further difficulties later on. In verse 8, there's a phrase, after glory he sent me.
Yeah.
That's been called the most problematic in the whole book.
By the way, it says I gather in the present. So it's not for I will gather you, it's I gather you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the present. It's not a future.
Yeah. So why don't you continue here?
Okay. Let's see. So, yeah, as the four winds of the heavens, declares the Lord, up, escape to Zion, you who dwell with the daughter of Babylon, for thus said the Lord of hosts, after his glory sent me to the nations who plundered you, for he who touches you touches the apple of his eye. Now, I think this was the verse that was, I think this is the verse that was mentioned as an alteration there. Like it was their own translation. Apparently, I wouldn't think they'd mention it unless it was diverging from some other translation, right?
Yeah, so these two say, whoever strikes you also strikes at my open eye. And I'm going to look here. Well, first of all, after his glory, he sent me, right? Whose glory sent me, right?
Yeah.
The Masoretic text reads enigmatically, after glory he sent me. But there's a frequently proposed emendation, which says, whose glory sent me. And the apple of his eye alter says, the Midrash Tanhuma lists this as a scribal euphemistic correction for the apple of my eye, introduced to avoid anthropomorphism. But if, as in several modern languages, apple of the eye is an idiom for what is most precious to a person, this use would not necessarily imply that God has an eye with a pupil. Right? But here, my open eye, these two say the value and vulnerability of the eye are conveyed with an idiom which is capable of more than one specific rendering. Hebrew, baba, may be related to the Aramaic word for gate, hence our translation open. However, many versions translate the word as pupil, which modern commentators relate to the Arabic Deuteronomy 32:10, containing a similar phrase denoting the preciousness of Yahweh's charge, Jacob. Also relevant is Psalm 17:8, which contains a phrase that could account for, by the ditography of Beth, the present hapax legomenon. The first person possessive makes this God's eye, and the original text no doubt read, my eye, and referred to God, thus creating an anthropomorphism intolerable to the medieval copyists. They believed that there should be no such explicit reference to the body of the deity, who was conceived as essentially incorporeal. They changed the text, in such cases, in the least disruptive way, mainly by altering pronominal suffixes as they have here. Although the general meaning of the expression is not in doubt, it may be justifiable to understand BT or BBT as pupil of the eye, an equivalent to YSWN. No vowels here. Okay. The pupil is the most central element of the eye. It's possible that BBT is a partially reduplicated form, like YPYP from YPY. So, I don't know if that was helpful at all to you.
I mean, it just seems like a lot of textual issues.
The point being that the medieval copyists were screwing around with this because it didn't jive with their fancies.
You know, that's just tradition.
Yep.
All right, so yeah, for thus said the Lord of hosts, after his glory sent me to the nations who plundered you, for he who touches you touches the apple of his eye. And this is a quotation. Behold, I will shake my hand over them, and they shall become plunder for those who served them. Then you will know that the Lord of hosts has sent me. Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for behold!
Behold!
Oh yeah, behold, sorry.
I come and I will dwell in your midst, declares the Lord. And my nations shall join themselves to the Lord in that day, and shall be my people. And I will dwell in your midst, and you shall know that the Lord of hosts has sent me to you.
Okay, couple things. First of all, behold, translated here as indeed.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Has indeed been identified with a Hebrew word.
Great.
Yes. And I saw it in here.
Oh, by the way, very excited for next chapter.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, looks like I'm just looking ahead. We got Satan coming up.
Oh.
Yeah, exciting stuff,
spooky.
isn't it?
Yeah, so the indeed is hineni. Hineni is behold.
There you go.
Yep.
Look at that. All these books came in handy.
Yeah, they did. But also, they translate this as, "For indeed I am coming to dwell in your midst, oracle of Yahweh," which is very different.
Like they say, oracle of Yahweh?
Yes, it says, "Shout and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for indeed I am coming to dwell in your midst, oracle of Yahweh."
Huh, okay.
And I'm looking for commentary here on this last bit, and it looks like this is like the one thing that they don't comment on. But
Like they comment on basically every single word. Like it's not, I'm not exaggerating, by the way. After a certain section, they break up parts of the text and then comment on every phrase and every word that there is.
Yeah.
But I guess not on this one.
Yeah, and altar just says, "Saith the Lord."
Okay, well, I guess it's supposed to just be a word of the Lord then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the Lord will inherit Judah as his portion in the Holy Land and will again choose Jerusalem. Be silent, all flesh, before the Lord, for he has roused himself from his holy dwelling. So, I guess, be silent, all flesh. So all living things, or I guess all humans in this case, don't piss off the big guy.
Is this verse 17?
This is verse 13. Well, I guess it would be verse 17.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to point out, despite the sole biblical occurrence of the term Holy Land in this verse.
Wait, really?
Yep.
Oh, shit.
A few other places in the Hebrew Bible contain analogous articulations of God's territory. The best parallel is to be found in Psalm 78:54, where the phrase is holy border or territory. There, the context enables us to understand Holy Land as the area around Sinai, the earliest possession of the Israelites. The Psalms passage is based on Exodus 15:13 and 17. Those two verses, in turn, are based on Exodus 3:5, where the original Holy Land is specified. The sacred territory around Sinai is also to be equated with the holy abode in Exodus 15:13. The transfer of this
So I guess they've used a whole bunch of epithets for it, but I guess this is the first time that this specific epithet is used.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess the only time.
Yeah. Otherwise, we do not have a Holy Land.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Is that the end of
yes.
chapter?
Yes, that is the end of the chapter.
Wow. Incredible. Much wow. So
much wow.
So if you're enjoying the stream so far, give us a like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, family, neighbors. And Lawrence, do you hear something?
I do hear something. Oh, I bet it's not a horseman. Oh.
Behold, I am your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and I want to let all you heathens and sinners know that I support this wonderful episode of Atheist Sunday School. Lawrence and Reuben try their very best to bring you the true glory of the Bible, and they need your help. They have provided links to their Patreon page and other social media just for you. Once again, my name is Jesus Christ, and this is Milwaukee Atheists. The Lord is with them. God bless.
Oh my God, Jesus! Thank you for showing up. Hopefully we're able to talk about the visions that your dad gave to this guy a very long time ago. Or maybe it's you, whichever Christology you want to take, buddy. So
No, it's only the Holy Ghost. There's nothing else.
only the Holy Ghost.
That's right.
That's not a Christology. I don't think
Made a new one.
I don't think that's a Christology.
I also agree. It would not be. It would be a Holy Ghostology.
It wouldn't be a Christology. All right. So, getting into chapter 3 here, it seems like this one, we do get the stuff about Satan, of course, being the adversary, right? Like, it's not like the devil with his pitchfork and his long tail and his cool horns. Like, it's not that one. No, this is the adversary. This is the one that's been viewed in ancient Hebrew literature as like a judge among the earth. Like, he's the one that's going around and not even acting as prosecution, but he's there to see the trial, I guess, effectively. Because, man, they viewed a lot of stuff in legal terms, didn't they? Of course, Matthew, correct? Ha-Satan or Ha-Shaitan. I don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced. I don't know Hebrew yet. That's a yet. I did buy a book on biblical Hebrew, by the way. So I guess once I'm done with ancient Greek, it's going to be time for Hebrew. But yeah, the Job one. Yes. That's very same one. So yeah, on to this section. Hopefully we get someone in here quite soon to read it.
Behold,
hello.
I
Welcome
have
back.
returned. A vision came to me
Oh yeah?
of the Holy Land.
How was it?
There were lots of holes.
Shit, that sucks.
Anyways, we got a pretty short chapter here, chapter 3.
Yeah.
And this is where the Hebrew text and the Greek get back into the same order.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
They agree now.
Yep. Chapter 3. And he showed me Joshua the high priest standing before the angel of the Lord, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him. Now, if you remember, it was noted in the Old Testament survey's introduction that this chapter is possibly a later edition.
Yeah.
And the Lord said unto Satan, the Lord rebuke thee, O Satan. Even the Lord that hath chosen Jerusalem rebuke thee.
Right, so
is this not a brand plucked out of the fire?
Yeah, so this is, I think, the third time, and I guess the last time, right?
Mm-hmm.
That this character of Satan is mentioned. So of course, you got Job, classic one. We also have remember in Chronicles, it was the Chronicles version of David's census, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah, because David took a census, and when we initially read the story in Kings,
It didn't make any sense why he was being punished.
Yeah, for taking a census. We were just kind of left to have our best guesses, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But with Chronicles, you would have it because it was Satan. Satan did that. Satan told him to do it. And
Hi, Yahweh.
Yep, Yahweh's here in the chat.
oh, amazing. Hello, Yahweh.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yep.
Thank you for showing up. Man, we just had your son on.
Yeah.
If you go back in the stream, I'm sure you could see him, but I guess as Yahweh, you don't really have to
rewind the stream for everyone.
You don't have to rewind the stream because you're Yahweh, right? You know that your kid was just on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
Anyways,
Yeah. Incredible.
this character, Satan, this is different than Ha-Shaitan, right?
No, this is that one.
Right, this is the Satan, right?
Yeah, this is
this
the
is not
adversary.
just an adversary, because there have been other Satans mentioned, right? Other adversaries, rather, in different parts of different books, right?
Yeah, this would be the accuser, the adversary. Yep.
Right. So this is a singular character. Of course, it's way different than the character that shows up in the New Testament.
Yeah, very very different than that one.
Yeah.
So
Totally different.
that one's
character there.
that's completely completely different. This one doesn't know that guy.
Yeah. And this one's not a snake.
Oh, right. Yeah. Say, of course, this is one of the 3 times that it actually occurs. And it does carry the well, I guess I said it right before, where it does carry the weight of an attorney as the prosecution. And I think, I mean, yeah, this is just a whole lot of situations where they're trying to describe the context of the accuser. So, but it's stuff we've talked about on the show a lot about him as acting as kind of a lawyer or a judge.
Now, Joshua was clothed with filthy garments, and he stood before the angel. And he answered him, and spake unto those that stood before him, saying, Take away the filthy garments from him. And unto him he said, Behold,
Well,
I have caused thine iniquity to pass from thee, and I will clothe thee with change of raiment. Now, if you remember 2nd Enoch and some other apocryphal books.
So are you shooting for an angelology kind of thing?
Well, maybe, because in 2nd Enoch, when he gets clothed in heavenly raiment, that's a complete change in status.
Yeah, that's true. And there are multiple apocryphal and pseudepigraphal works that also show the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, what you're going for here is like a transfiguration.
Maybe not a transfiguration, but here it says that it caused his iniquity to pass from him. So this is like a purification that's being provided by the angel, right?
Yeah, and pure vestments here. So Hebrew mahalashut is derived from a root helesh, I guess. That's the best I could do because it's consonantal, and occurs only here and in Isaiah 3:22, where it is included in a list of finery that the ladies of Jerusalem possess. Oh, yeah. Remember that weird part in Isaiah?
Oh, yeah.
Where they were listing all the stuff that women had, and it was like, why is this here? It was really weird. All right, either way.
So
I want to finish the note here.
Yeah.
Since the root can mean withdraw or draw off, I don't know which commentary series this is, but it was concluded that the noun mahalashot represents a robe of state, that is something that is taken off in ordinary life. However, that explanation does not fit the opposing notions of clean and unclean which permeate the scenario. Thomas points out that the Arabic cognate to helesh, with the meaning withdraw, has a primary sense of to become clear, pure, or genuine, and is actually used of garments in its adjectival form. Furthermore, the ancient usage of the root to designate some pure or purified item may find support in Assyrian halashu, to purify, especially of oil, samna halsha, the primary meaning being to press out, the derived meaning to purify. The term mahalashut designates the purified garments, the pure vestments with which Joshua is clothed once his filthy or impure ones have been removed. Since the term does not appear in any of the detailed descriptions of priestly vestments in Exodus or Leviticus, the term clearly cannot refer to a specific type of garment, but rather to the state of the apparel so denoted.
Now, Eerdman's comments, the meaning of Joshua's filthy clothes has been much debated. The simplest explanation is that the provision of a new apparel is an act of priestly renewal and reconsecration, appropriate for the rededicated temple.
Yeah, I definitely see that part. Although it was noted that because it wasn't listed in those sections, with because that word isn't used in Exodus or Leviticus for it, it I don't know if it's super likely that it has those temple connotations. I do see the restoration part, but maybe not necessarily temple. Maybe to Jerusalem as a whole. And while I really love the idea of this being like some transfiguration type of thing, I don't think that's what it is.
Probably
as much as
not.
I would love it to be. That would be so cool.
Yeah, it's weird how Satan's like a footnote here, right? He appears in this verse 2, and basically Satan's hanging around, and then the Lord's like,
Go away.
go away. and that's it.
That's it.
Right? Really weird. Why would he even be included there? There doesn't seem to be a point.
Good question.
Maybe it's to...
Oh,
add to the purity?
I think so. Yeah, because if you have Satan being like, and the adversary was standing on his right to accuse him, and the Lord was like, I rebuke you.
Mm-hmm.
So it does seem like this is more of a having the adversary here, having Satan here,
Mm-hmm.
is just the way to be like, no, everything is fine, go away.
Mm-hmm.
I think it definitely serves that purpose. You definitely got more of a story arc in other texts.
Yeah, we did. Especially in like the apocalypse of Elijah.
Yeah.
That was pretty
And
good.
we're currently in the Testament of Job on
Right.
our Friday show.
Right.
That's been a lot of fun.
Satan there. Yeah. And I said, let them set a fair mitre upon his head. So they set a fair mitre upon his head and clothed him with garments. And the angel of the Lord stood by. And the angel of the Lord protested unto Joshua, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts.
Okay. I was unsure of what you said. And he said, let them put a pure diadem on his head. Okay.
Mhm. So like a crown.
Yeah.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, if thou wilt walk in my ways, and if thou wilt keep my charge, then thou shalt also judge my house, and shalt also keep my courts, and I will give thee places to walk among these that stand by. Hear now, O Joshua, the high priest, thou and thy fellows that sit before thee, for they are men wondered at. For behold,
Behold!
I will bring forth my servant, the branch.
Yes, my servant branch. The Hebrew term for branch, tsema, has clear dynastic associations. There is a debate among interpreters as to whether this refers to an eschatological Davidic ruler or to Zerubbabel. But the latter seems more likely because the grand restoration appears to be imminent. Political considerations may have led Zechariah to suppress his name.
You know, it's really weird because they just say the branch here. Is
that's
that like
that's
his
verse 8,
wrestler
right?
name?
Man, that'd be a horrible wrestling name if I know anything about wrestling names, which I do.
Yeah, I know you do.
That would be a horrible wrestling name.
Yeah.
It'd be like the Yeti. Have you guys seen the Yeti?
No.
Well, basically, it was in WCW. They called him the Yeti, but he was dressed like a mummy. It wasn't a Yeti. It was a mummy. What are you doing, WCW? Nothing anymore because they're out of business. All right, let's...
Okay. For behold,
Behold!
the stone that I have laid before Joshua, upon one stone shall be 7 eyes. Behold, I will engrave the graving thereof, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will remove the iniquity of that land in one day. So what is this magical stone that has eyes?
7 eyes, right? Okay, so that's verse 9. You know, I was looking at the stuff about the branch, but no, let's talk about the 7 eyes and the stone. So the attempt to identify this stone and understanding its meaning in the verse has elicited an enormous scholarly discussion, which is summarized extensively by Petitjean in the context of his analysis of verses 8 through 10. The problems in dealing with the stone are related to the difficulties surrounding the placement of verses 8 through 10. Oh my God, one of these. And the complexities of its connection with the rest of the verses. Which interrupt the flow of the fourth vision. In Zechariah 4:6b through 10a, Zerubbabel is mentioned explicitly with respect to temple restoration, and in the process, stone appears twice. Furthermore, the stone of 3:9 is said to have 7 eyes, a phrase very similar to the one describing the 7 eyes of Yahweh that appear in the interpreting angels explication, immediately following the Zerubbabel insertion of 4:6 through 10.
So I want to...
And of the 7 lamps of the menorah.
I wanted to point out here that Eerdman's comments, the meaning of the stone with 7 facets, literally eyes, some read the word as springs or fountains, has given rise to so many speculations that any interpretation can only be guesswork. The stone has been linked with the foundation stone of the temple, or the stone in the high priest's diadem, to mention only 2 theories. Minimally, it can probably be said that the stone contains a name or phrase, which promises the coming age when the whole land and its people will be cleansed of all guilt. But so this kind of reminds me of like the magical seals that pop up in other things. You know, like Solomon with his signet ring that is able to seal demons.
Yeah, and then I mean, you have like I think 7 once again is probably just supposed to represent completeness of some sort, or this is supposed to be like all encompassing. So I think the 7 eyes aren't too much of an issue. It'd be interesting to talk about them more. So it
make a video about it.
I'm thinking about it. So yeah, this there's one stone here. This additional information about the stone is probably intended to set its singularity against the plurality of stones found in the Exodus description of Aaron's garb. Lipinski uses the idiom of Judges 9:5 to offer another interpretation of this phrase. His assertion that it is a time indicator is ingenious, but not convincing, if only because it disrupts the associated imagery. The single inscribed stone here contrasts with the sets of inscribed stones in the high priest's ephod shoulder stone. Shoulder pieces. 2 stones, each of which signifies a means of an engraved inscription. 6 tribes, or on his breastplate.
So we could also interpret this if we're going with the completeness route. That 7 eyes is representative of like complete or perfect vision.
7 pairs of eyes, to be specific.
It doesn't say 7
I know,
pairs of
but
eyes here.
it says that literally the words read 7 pairs of eyes.
Okay, so 14 eyes.
Yeah.
Or 7 pairs of eyes. But if we go with like that, then 7 pairs of eyes could be like completeness or perfection of vision. So when it talks about removing the iniquity of the land, it could be that this is an object which is representative of God's ability to see all of the iniquity that occurs there and to remove it, having perfect knowledge of it occurring.
Yeah, it'd be nice if you did that before, huh?
Yeah, that'd be nice. In that day, saith the Lord of hosts, shall ye call every man his neighbor under the vine and under the fig tree.
Also, yeah, I think that would be a cool video to do one on this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool stuff in Zechariah. Do you guys want to see a video on that? On the 7-eyed stone? I think that'd be pretty neat. Or at least,
Just a side project. It'd be cool.
Yeah, as another one.
But that's the end of chapter 3. If you're enjoying the stream so far, give us a like, comment, subscribe, share it with friends, family, neighbors, people with 7 pairs of eyes.
Yeah, don't you want 7 pairs of eyes?
No, I don't.
You want friends with 7 pairs of eyes?
That'd be kind of strange.
Not
just uncommon, but
this chapter coming up is the 5th vision.
Fantastic.
And we're going to hear about some anointed ones.
Anointed ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which typically would be like messianic figures, huh?
Well, I suppose we'll see. And this is chapter 4?
Yes.
It could be.
No, it is. All right. Let's talk about chapter 4. And the angel who talked with me came again and woke me, like a man who was awakened out of his sleep.
So there's ambiguity in this statement because all these visions convey a sense of things seen in a dream. He awakes then from one dream to another.
Inception. The Bible did it first, guys. Okay. And he said to me, "What do you see?" I said, "I see, and behold,
Behold.
a lampstand, all of gold, with a bowl on the top of it, and 7 lamps on it, with 7 lips on each of the lamps that are on the top of it."
Yeah. So
This is like one of those riddles where it's like a man was going to St. Ives, and he met a man with 7 wives, and each wife had like 7 kids, and each kid had like 7 hats, and yeah.
well, there would be 7 pipes that.
But really, just the
oil-
one guy is going to St. Ives, though, which
Right.
is the riddle.
There'd be 7 pipes that oil goes through, which would be used for lighting. This looks like a menorah, basically. And insofar as Zechariah's visions are related to the Jerusalem temple, the appearance of a golden lampstand or menorah surely involved a major temple appurtenance. The difficulties posed by this passage for most exegetes are twofold. First, the textual irregularities associated with the menorah's description are indicated. Second, the real lampstands of Israel's cultic history are related to this visionary object, the lampstand of the tabernacle, the lampstands of the pre-exilic temple, and the lampstand of the Hasmonean or Herodian temple of the later exilic period. These two problems are related and stem from attempts on the part of both the ancient and modern translators and tradents to objectify, that is, to describe in specific terms, the appurtenance that figures in Zechariah's vision. The textual problems, the suffixes for several of the words, the number of times 7 occurs, the form for the word for spouts, the arrangement of items in relation to one another, that's basically that's just listing a whole bunch of issues. The lampstands of Zechariah's vision do not correspond exactly with either that of Exodus or those of Kings. It probably can be best understood as involving elements from both along with certain aspects, certain characteristics of its own. It shares with the other cultic lampstands of the Bible the concept of menorah as a generic stand, a cylindrical tube or shaft flaring at the lower end to provide a stable base, and at the upper end to afford the support of light-bearing vessels. It's
that's a lot of words for shaped like a menorah.
Yeah.
So I think while it's not directly
and holy shit, there's like, oh my God. There's like 10 pages just on this lamp.
Yeah, because it's pretty easy to see like all the imagery that's included here. So they're made of gold. You have the bowl on top, and there's 7 more lamps, and 7 lips, and the olive trees. There's a lot of imagery that goes into this one verse here. And so I think that they were definitely pulling on traditions, but the author put it together in a different way.
Point being, it's a lampstand with 7 spouts, surmounted by a golden reservoir of oil and flanked by 2 olive trees.
Amazing. Yep. And there are 2 olive trees by it, one on the right of the bowl, and the other on its left. And I said to the angel who talked with me, "What are these, my lord?" Then the angel who talked with me answered and said to me, "Do you not know what these are?" I said, "No, my lord." Then he said to me, "This is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts."
So, these memorable words have great resonance, but how do they follow from the vision of the golden lampstand? The golden lampstand with its 7 burning oil lamps is to be a focal point in the temple. Its light a token of God's radiant presence in his house in the midst of his people. Thus, the rebuilding of the temple in difficult material conditions and perhaps with some resistance from the Persian imperial power will be consummated through God's spirit, which is symbolized with the lampstand.
So I think at this point they've just given up on winning wars and stuff, so they're like, by faith.
Yeah, so this is surely...
by spirit, but still.
This is surely one of the most quoted statements from Scripture, and one of the gems of the book of Zechariah. Jewish tradition in particular has a fondness for this verse, which becomes identified with the theme of the holiday Hanukkah, the Jewish festival of lights celebrated in December. We know what Hanukkah is. But basically...
I've never heard of Hanukkah. What's that?
News to me.
Yeah. Basically, very famous verse.
All right. Let's see. Yeah, by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts. Who are you, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel, you shall become a plain, and he shall bring forward the top stone and shouts of grace to it. So this is I don't know if this is supposed to reference like another stone, or if it's because of course the mountain, I'm guessing, is supposed to be Zion.
Yeah.
Or is
So
it supposed to be a different?
it's the designation for the temple or its situation in Zion. It's especially informed by the frequency, which is the theme of the text of the temple as embodiment of the cosmic mountain occurs in texts from the ancient Near East, such as those referring to the temple as the great house on a mountain great, or house of the great mountain of the lands. It was clearly part of ancient Israel. They took it seriously. But this premier stone, the identification of the action and the object of the action, the stone called Ha'eben HaRosa, has puzzled commentators for generations and has inspired a myriad of interpretations. These have been conveniently summarized by Libas. Many of the interpretations are based upon ancient versions that have great difficulty not only with the translation of the phrase, but also with the understanding of the verse as a whole. Several Greek manuscripts insert stone of inheritance, possibly reading Yoresa or Marasa, inheritance for HRSH, premier.
It seems that Alter translates it as capstone.
The Syriac reads stone of equality and harmony. The Targums have made this expression purely messianic. Symmachus has highest stone or capstone, and the Vulgate translates first stone.
I see. Okay, so this looks like, well, I don't know about how the Vulgate would do that, but maybe they're looking at it a different way. But I think this is just to symbolize the finishing of the temple, the last stone on the temple.
Well, hold on.
Oh, okay. We got more?
We got more.
We got more.
Okay.
Let's go, chat.
The premier stone has been variously interpreted as a foundation coin, top stone, the jewel of the breastplate, the gem for the crown, the legendary foundation stone of Jewish lore, building material for the temple, symbol of the temple, the plummet, the rock of the altar of the Holy of Holies, a symbolic stone, the Messiah, the kingdom of God, Israel, the pyramidion of Isaiah 28:16. The publication of Ellis's Foundation Deposits in Ancient Mesopotamia, 1968, has stimulated a fresh approach, which recognizes Mesopotamian influences or analogies to the action and object reflected in Zechariah 4:7. And the specific situation reflected in this verse is the dilemma of temple restorers faced with the ruins of previously existing temple.
So let me get this straight here. So aside from the very literal interpretation that we can get, we also have the interpretation of anything that can unite the people effectively.
Basically.
Wow.
But Near Eastern archaeology provides countless examples of the extraordinary continuity of temple sites. Once a sanctuary was constructed at a given site, the precise location was tenaciously preserved and reused when another sanctuary was erected to replace the building that had been destroyed or had fallen into disuse. The decline or destruction would occur when the polity, economically, politically, theologically, collapsed or perished. Emergent states or conquering kingdoms went to great lengths to preserve temple sites. They erected new temples in exactly the same places so as to ensure the sanctity of the holy places and buildings and thus secure the sanction and blessing of the deities so honored. The pragmatic dimensions of such an undertaking took various forms in the ancient world, depending at least to some extent on the condition of the sacred site to which a new temple was to be built. There may have also been ideological reasons for which only conjecture can be made for the great efforts, apparently in archaeological remains as well as Mesopotamian building inscriptions, involved in the reutilization of a temple location. If the temple had been largely demolished and stilted over, to the extent that the exact location could not be easily determined, the original functions were often sought through extensive evacuations and extensive excavations, and levelings. The Neo-Babylonians, who had to deal with the ruins of the preceding millennia of Mesopotamian civilization, were especially vigorous in restoring temples to the exact outlines of the preceding buildings. Nabonidus' mammoth efforts exemplify this. Not only did he excavate deeply, he also aligned the new temple precisely with the old one. I searched for its old foundation. I dug down 18 cubits into the ground, and Samas revealed to me the foundation of Naram Sin, son of Sargon, which no king before me had seen for 3,200 years. I laid its brickwork on the foundation of Naram Sim, son of Sargon, not protruding or receding an inch. Less extreme measures could be taken, blah, 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 blah. But it goes on to say that the premier stone is the focal point of the Yehudite temple refoundation ceremony.
Yeah.
Well-
So the entire point of it is just that it is the finishing piece to unite everyone.
Or the part of the foundation of the first temple.
Right.
That it's something like that.
Man, that's I did not think that there would be that many interpretations of it. Like, I get why there would be confusion over
A
it.
lot of names for that rock.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a very important rock.
Seriously,
It's
important
probably
rock.
one of the most important rocks. What would you say, maybe the second or first most important rock?
It's the Rock of Ages.
Is it really?
It is. Song was written about it.
I guess it might be the most important rock.
It's like that piece of meteorite in Mecca.
Yeah. Then the word of the Lord came to me, saying, the hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house. His hands shall also complete it. Then you will know that the Lord of hosts has sent me to you. For whatever has despised the day of small things shall rejoice and shall see the plumb line in the hand of Zerubbabel. Okay, so saying Zerubbabel is going to be the one to finish it off.
Multiple things here. For who has despised the day of small things? This rather crabbed formulation probably means you have dismissed the humble beginnings of the construction as unimpressive, will be filled with joy when you witness the completion. But he says, they shall rejoice and see the stone of separation in Zerubbabel's hand.
Oh, stone of separation.
Now
There we
it
go.
says here, the Hebrew ha'evan habadil is enigmatic, the tin stone. Most scholars amend the second word to hamavadil, separating. It could be identical with the capstone. It's not clear what it separates. Perhaps two large sections on the roof.
I feel like if it was the same stone, okay, so I guess there are two options here, right? So if it was, no, there aren't two options. No, because of the joy people would get from this stone, who is it going to separate?
Oh, it doesn't separate people. It separates stones.
Right, but
Like,
why would
a
you
cap
describe it
stone
that way?
Separates us from them.
Why would you
Whoa.
describe it as a stone of separation?
I'm just
Oh.
throwing it out there, but capstones, like in an archway, the final stone in an arch.
I'm not saying that they don't physically separate something.
I'm not saying it just physically separates things. It makes it so that it doesn't cave in on itself. That's like, you know what I mean?
Right. Okay. I am saying that I don't think
It's a
it'd be
structural
described in those terms.
Well, a stone of separation is the same thing as a capstone, I think. So
Now,
I mean, I don't know. I'm not an ancient architect.
Myers
not
and
either.
Myers call it the tin stone. Alter noted that that's a possible interpretation. I'm trying to see where they reference the tin stone.
So it kind of goes back here. But either way, this will be finished. This work will be finished in the days of Zerubbabel, right? That's what they're saying at the very end there.
Yeah.
Um,
Zerubbabel's going to finish it.
Yeah.
They have small things. The tin stone refers to a stone of some kind, but just what it is not exactly clear.
Great.
Um,
I mean, I didn't think it would be, but whatever.
The most cogent explanations among those cited by Petitjean, as well as subsequent studies, are those which full recognition is given in the context of ceremonial refoundation. So the term could be another designation for the premier stone.
Oh, it could be, I guess.
Another interpretation is less dependent on ceremonial context. The tin stone is a weight or plummet, such as builders use.
That would make more sense here. Either way, especially since we're talking about the plumb line later in the verse, right?
yeah, the plumb line is what's used to keep your bricks level or your blocks level when you're placing them.
Okay.
So starting the plumb line is the first thing you do. I'm not. What is it saying he's doing with the plumb line?
Well, I mean, it was set up beforehand,
Right.
with the whole measurement of the temple.
Yeah.
That's required to put.
Or
Yeah.
of Jerusalem, I guess.
Mhm.
But this is specifically, it sounds like it's about the temple.
Yeah.
Unless they're talking about the building.
It's
of
a
the
measurement
city.
to keep the temple building level.
Yeah.
Yep.
So either way, these 7 are the eyes of the Lord.
This refers to the 7 multi-spotted lamps of verse 2.
Yeah. So it looks like there was an addition here, I'm guessing. Or no, maybe not. It's just a weird construction of a chapter.
Yep.
The
Probably
eyes
is.
of... So the eyes of the Lord...
These 7 are the eyes of the Lord which range through the whole earth. Then I said to him, what are these 2 olive trees on the right and the left of the lampstand? And a second time I answered and said to him, what are those 2 branches of the olive trees which are beside the 2 golden pipes from which the golden oil is poured out? What?
By which the golden tubes emptying out the gold.
Yes, this
The
is verse 12.
entire
There's a lot of
lampstand
stuff here in
is
verse 12.
golden, but the color of the fine olive oil is also golden.
Yay.
The tubes presumably empty out into receptacles of the 7 lamps.
Okay.
It's the olive oil trees are what, their oil is what's being burned, I guess.
Makes
That's
sense there.
maybe what they're for.
He said to me, do you not know what these are? I said, no, my lord. Then he said, these are the 2 anointed ones who stand by the Lord of the whole earth. Ooh.
The 2 men consecrated with oil. The literal sense is 2 sons of oil. It should be recalled that sons has many broad applications in biblical Hebrew. The word for oil used is not the common shemen, but yitshar, or yitshar. Perhaps adopted as a literary effect, or perhaps as an encoding device so as not to make too explicit a reference to anointing. The 2 men are Zerubbabel and Joshua, so the anointing of the former would be royal, not sacerdotal.
Okay. So, yeah, I was wondering, first of all, who would those be? Zerubbabel would make sense as one of them, right? And I guess Joshua would also make sense, especially after the context there. But I imagine this has been interpreted in a variety of ways.
Who are the 2 anointed ones? And almost all commentators identify them with Zerubbabel and Joshua. Vanderwood emphasizes the fact that the word translated anointed is not connected with the word for oil.
Also,
the substance used to anoint kings and priests. He identifies the anointed ones with the branch and a future high priest, the fresh or new juice indicating a coming new age. The possibility must be reckoned with that a vision about the future was understood either by the prophet or the book's editor in terms of the contemporary figures of Zerubbabel and Joshua. That would explain the presence of the material about Zerubbabel in 4:6-10.
Yeah, Matthew, you're bringing up the 2 witnesses in Revelation as well. And I think we talked about them
when we were doing the
Apocalypse of Elijah, right?
Yeah, the Apocalypse of Elijah, because in the Apocalypse of Elijah,
it's
they're identified with Elijah and Enoch.
Yeah. So it's crazy stuff, man. These interpretations, they're out. They get out there sometimes. But either way, that was the end of chapter 4, and that was the end of the reading for the day. Next week, we're going to finish, I guess, part 1 of Zechariah.
Yeah, and the week after, we'll do 2nd Zechariah.
Yeah, sounds like a good time, doesn't it?
And then the week after that, we're finishing the Old Testament with Micah.
How fun. Almost done. Look how close we are, guys.
We are incredibly close to finishing the Old Testament.
It's good stuff. All right. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream.
And then you guys better be ready, because we're going to go from taking on Judaism, which is a small religion.
Yeah, nobody's ever heard of Judaism.
Not many people practicing it, to taking on the most practiced religion on the planet in the New Testament.
Yeah.
Yep. It's going to be wild.
Christ a hall.
And there's going to be a lot. You're going to get a lot of references in the New Testament to Old Testament stuff, because they started off as Jews.
Which is a great thing, because we have the Jewish annotated New Testament.
We do. And I got to pick up a Greek New Testament. That's what I should do. Because I mean, we have the Septuagint here, and I have another one at home.
And you should bring the New Testament survey.
Yeah, I should bring that. Although it's not as good.
Oh,
because I
no.
feel okay. So like the thing is, a lot of really, I'm gonna be completely open here. A lot of good scholarship has been done by Christians, but the best scholarship has been done on the Old Testament stuff. Because when it comes to New Testament stuff, there's a very real bias there. And I feel like a lot of the time they do kind of fall short, or they put in their own, sometimes very explicit biases into the text. Like in the New Testament survey, the commentator for Revelation, for example, he's like, yeah, there's no reason to think that he didn't have these visions. I'm like, yeah, there is. Like, these are really distinctly written visions that are referencing very real things. And with just a little bit of effort, you can actually understand them. These aren't like visions that this person would have had. This is literature. This is apocalyptic literature. It was well thought out. It's not just this guy had a fucking vision or a dream once. Like, it's not just that. Like, it was well thought out. It was planned out like that. Like, no way was something like Revelation written like from an actual vision.
Yeah.
Or no, I shouldn't say like no way, but I think it's really unlikely. So they do include their own biases in those. And while every author does have their own biases, absolutely, and when we read through scholarship, we should take those into account. The ones in the New Testament survey, how should I say it? They don't check themselves.
Well, luckily, we will also be using Eerdmans.
Yeah, we'll have Eerdmans. We're going to have plenty of other commentaries. We're going to have Hermenia commentaries.
Hermenia, Jewish Annotated New Testament, Eerdmans, New Testament Survey, Hermenia. There's Anchor Bible stuff on it too, right?
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, they have pretty good commentaries.
Yeah, they do.
So we'll have all sorts of commentaries.
That'd be good stuff.
And if you want to buy us more books.
Yeah, you know what? We have an Amazon wish list. I don't know if Nightbot's been posting all that much, but we have the link in the description if you want to get some books over here on this table. If you want to
help us out in preparation for taking on the largest religion on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of commentaries already, but, you know, more is good.
We always use more.
Yeah. And, you know, if you don't want to get us something off the wish list, that's okay. You could get yourself a shirt. We have lots of shirts. And here's one of them.
This one's a classic.
Yeah, it is a classic. And the thing about this shirt and all of our other shirts is if you're a patron of $10 or more, you get entered into a monthly t-shirt giveaway where you can win a t-shirt. So if you consider becoming a patron of that tier, you could win t-shirts every month. You could be the new Landon.
You could be on the show like Landon is.
In fact, just be like Landon.
Become Landon.
Yep.
Become Landon. If you're not
an astrophysicist by the time that we finish the New Testament, something has gone terribly wrong.
Let's see what else we got. We shilled out Patreon, the wish list, shirts. I think we
have Facebook and Twitter. Those are
free to follow us on those platforms.
And you can send in your diss tracks to MilwaukeeAtheist@gmail.com or your fan art.
That too. We do like fan art. We don't get much of that. We've had one thing. We've had one person send in art.
Yeah.
Which was really nice of them. That was really nice. That was really cool. Yeah. I think that's all the shilling we got to do, right?
I mean, we could shill more.
We could, but let's not.
Son is I want a Bible annotated by Milwaukee Atheist. We'll work on it.
We are considering that. After we're done with the whole thing, we'll put in. We'll go back over everything and put in our own thoughts and our own commentary. Yeah.
And Lawrence will translate it from the Greek.
This could be so much work, but yeah, I could do that. Mm-hmm. I could do that.
And he'll also translate it from the Hebrew.
I probably won't.
And the Latin. And it'll be a very extensive commentary.
And then nobody will buy it, and I would have wasted all that time for something a little interesting, but
But long after your time, someone will find some value in it.
You know what? You're probably right. That's true. That is very true.
That's just the way of these things.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. But anyways, thank you everyone for joining us. We had good viewership today.
Yeah,
honestly.
good viewership, and we have
We hope to
three
see you
more
next
episodes of Atheist Sunday School before we're done with the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Look at this shit. Look at this. Fucking look.
Are you looking, guys?
Look, you know how many pages this is in this giant ass book?
How many? I don't even know.
Look,
Chunk of my
look how
past
big
few
this book
years.
is. That's 637 pages.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. So we're almost there, guys. We're almost there. So we hope to see you guys on Friday, where we do our apocryphal podcast.
Yeah, we're doing the Testament of Job. Come on, it's so cool.
It is actually kind of cool. So yeah, we got Job, and then next week we're gonna be continuing this. So hey, make sure you're here for those, since we got viewers currently. Make sure you're here next time. But either way, yeah, like, share, subscribe, all this stuff you see.
And we
That's
will
great.
see you on Friday, and then Sunday, and then Friday,
Testament of
and
Job,
then Sunday, and then Friday, and then
what are we reading?
sermons.